Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics live on Channels Television. I'm Shehu Kimbaloye in Lagos. I'll begin tonight in perhaps an unusual manner by asking you, when was the last time you said thank you to your teacher or to your teachers if you're still in touch with any of them? Well, these are some of the most important people in our lives. We often never get to appreciate them, but they do a lot of work to make us all better people, isn't it? Well, yesterday was World Teachers Day, and I would like to say thank you to my teachers and to all the teachers out there. Thank you for the great job that you do. Well, talking about teachers, yesterday was World Teachers Day, and various stakeholders in the education sector gathered at the Eagle Square in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, to celebrate the teaching profession. The Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, was honored at the event as the best performing governor rather, in 2019. He was given an award by the teachers. And talking about education, there were some people whom they have our prayers though, and they will always have it. Some of the kids who went to school and never returned. It brings to the fore the story of the Chibok schoolgirls, some of those who have not returned up to now. It's 2,000 days already since 276 schoolgirls were abducted from their hostel at a government girls' school in Chibok, Borno State. Yesterday, members of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign group again opened up criticism on government's inability to secure the release of the remaining 112 girls still in Boko Haram captivity in the last 5.5 years. The group held another sit-out in Abuja demanding the intervention of the federal government for their release.
1,000 days anniversary. Members of the
Let's now speak with one of the co-founders, or one of the founders of the Bring Back Our Girls movement and a former Minister of Education, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. She joins us from Berlin in Germany. Thank you so much, Dr. Ezekwesili, for joining us tonight on the program. Well, not a happy story for a lot of the parents and well-wishers and a lot of Nigerians who have been looking forward to the return of the remaining girls. Good story is that the ones that return seems to have gotten started with some part of their lives in school and all of that. With what is happening, I know you are in touch with some of the parents. I know you are also tracking some of what is happening. What can you tell us about the story of some of these schoolgirls who are yet to return and hope in the horizon?
Well, there's not much to be said about them other than the agonies of their parents. The parents are still looking out for their children. There are times when I see Nigerians say, oh, why do people keep reminding these parents about their children? But the parents don't need to be reminded about their children. The parents are waiting for their children. One of the Chibok mothers, as I said on your program recently, was saying that there's no counterfactual evidence that the government has given to her to make her know that her daughter will not come back. And that the unfortunate thing is that the government is not in any way engaging with her and giving her any sense that something is being done about her daughter. So she pretty much feels, completely abandoned by her government, and that perhaps her daughter has been forgotten. When was the last time that the government sent anyone to the parents of the remaining Chibok girls? When was ever a time that the president of the country even reached out to them? So it is indeed a tragedy of a monumental scale.
You are demanding that the remaining schoolgirls should return. The ones that have returned, what is the state of things? Are you happy with their development? Are you in touch with them? What do you know about them?
Well, what we know about them is what families tell us about them. And they are doing well in school. 106 of them went back to school. One of them is learning a skill, a trade, with her, and she's with her child and her mom. And so they are doing well. For the ones who are back in school and doing very well, I think that that's the greatest revenge they could take on those who wanted to take education and their lives away from them.
The world came together on the issue of the Chibok schoolgirls. World leaders, from the wife of the former president of the United States to the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, several world leaders and a lot of people came together to speak for these girls. Looking back at almost 6 years since these girls were kidnapped, what lesson do you think the world and Nigeria in particular have learned from this incident?
I don't think that Nigeria learned much of a lesson from the incident. Otherwise, our country would not be the theater or the industry of kidnapping. At the time that Chibok girls were abducted, one of the major issues for us was for there to be such deterrent action by our government that would make it totally not profitable for any set of people to ever lay their hands on our children or, in fact, any Nigerian. But of course, it was unfortunate that both the government under which they were abducted and the one that inherited the tragedy have not in any way shown that good governance could have done something that is very necessary, which is to show that impunity and bad behavior will not be rewarded. What has happened is that people have taken this sense that there is a weakness of government and therefore they can abduct anybody and there would be reward in that bad activity. So look at the country. The country is a very depressing theater of kidnapping and people kidnap at will. They feel that the institutions of governance are too weak to get them. Now, this is wrong. 6 years and we deteriorated even worse than we were when Chibok girls were abducted and the group of citizens called for action.
As it stands right now, your group is still making demands of government. At some point, you've had some face-off during your protest. What is the latest that you have heard from the government in terms of the efforts of government in your engagement with government on their efforts in bringing back the remaining girls?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. The government, unfortunately, is pivoting to a complete collapse of democratic norms. This government, over time, just despised the idea of public accountability. It irritates them enormously to be asked to account for governance. And that behavior has percolated to other levels of governance. So, for example, Shehu is getting a terrible time with the government as well as with the judiciary. And then you go to state level, there is a journalist who is held in at least maybe 4 states of the Federation. And in each of the cases, their rights are being trampled upon. That is totally not acceptable in a democracy. And I do want to urge this government to retrace its step. You cannot fight and successfully win against your citizens.
Dr. Ezekwesili, in essence, what are you driving at? You've touched on the issues of human rights in the country. Some of these people you're talking about, the government will tell you that they are having their day in court. What exactly is the point you made about issues of human rights and the attitude or the approach of the government of the day towards citizens' rights?
Well, if people are having their day in court, it would be very obvious to those who are very democracy-minded. But we know that in most of the cases that are right now in the courts, that what we're seeing is a complete disrespect of the court. It's almost as if this administration is subordinating the two other arms of government in what should be a constitutional respect for the separation of powers under the executive. The executive cannot monopolize the powers that deposited in all the three arms of government. The executive must stay within its own boundaries. What I see is a complete disrespect of the judiciary. When you talk about the National Assembly, it's almost like they don't even exist in terms of their oversight function over the executive. And so we are fast deteriorating, our democracy declining. And by the way, the decline of our democracy, you could already see it in the fact that only only one out of every three Nigerians that were registered to vote in the last presidential elections were that to vote. Why did that happen? It is because people are becoming wary of the way that governance is going. And so they shouldn't push this. The government should retrace its step and ensure that the civic space is not in any way rolled or shrunk in ways that people begin to feel that the president is getting tyrannical. It won't work. The unity fountain where we normally gather as Nigerians, no matter what your issue is, you knew that there is a space rather, available to you. It's right now being fenced with wires. Why is that going on? Even if it's a repair, the government would have made it very clear to everyone that there would be a renovation of the Unity Fountain, knowing clearly that that's a common ground for citizens. The actions of this administration is very worrying. They are too worrying. And therefore, the president owes a duty to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The dignity of the human life has taken a serious assault because Nigerians die, and it's as if it has become normal. I find it terrible that young children in our country no longer feel anything about death because of the normalizing of the idea that people can just be killed. This is wrong. Security is in decline, economy is in total decline, governance is in decline, infrastructure, education is in decline. What then is governance?
Dr. Ezekwesili, let me take you quickly back to the issue of the Chibok girls. There's been a back and forth between the former Prime Minister of Britain and the former President Goodluck Jonathan on the attitude of what happened or the politics side of things between the two governments at the time. Looking back at what happened at the time and what the two former leaders are saying, what is perhaps your pain or your reaction to what happened then and what we know now?
Well, the first thing to say to you, Shehu, is that Prime Minister Cameron actually said what he wrote in his book directly to me at Davos. I said to Prime Minister Cameron, why was it that the United States and the UK were not able to support our government to rescue our Chibok girls? And he said that at that time, they were all set to rescue the girls, but the tentativeness in decision-making hampered their capacity to do so. I mean, we don't even need to get into the you did not do. We as onlookers who were demanding for action for Chibok girls felt that there was a lot of tentativeness and that we did not respond as quickly as we should have responded. Experts in abduction globally did say to us at that time that 72 hours after abduction represents the most probable time for rescue. As the days grow, the probability reduces. So we can see clearly that there was a dropping of the ball. We know that. Let's not argue about it. Anyone who wants to be truthful would agree and admit that there was a dropping of the ball on Chibok girls in the early days. But listen to me. The early days are now part of the history of what happened. what is going on today? Why is the administration that in opposition made strong promises to Chibok girls' parents that rescuing their daughters would be priority for the administration? The president, in his inauguration speech, said, and I quote him, "We will not consider ourselves to have defeated the terrorists until or without the rescue of Chibok girls and all other abducted citizens of Nigeria." We all had the same administration declare victory without the rescue of Chibok girls. And being reminded of it was a reason for assault on the Bring Back Our Girls movement.
All right,
using the
Dr.
police.
Ezekwesili, let me ask you this: if you are to advise the government on the best ways to approach these, because I was going to ask you whether you've lost hope in the return of the other schoolgirls, but if you are to advise on what approach is best to tackle these kidnap and the return of these girls, what would that be?
The government already knows what to do. The government was able to get 82 girls back in 2017, January 2017. In October 2016, it got 21 girls back. It already knows how to get the girls back. It just really needs to do what it must do in order to get the rest of the girls back. We've always insisted that government is the one with the best set of information for decision-making purposes. And they need to act. They need
Dr.
to not
Ezekwesili,
feel that getting... Did you
let
just
me,
interrupt?
yeah, sorry,
Okay.
apologies. I need to ask you this question because you're passionate about the Project Nigeria and some of the things, the challenges the nation is facing. You wanted to be president in the last election. You pulled out at some point. A lot of people will listen to you now, will ask the question, if Dr. Ezekwesili asks some of these answers, what are you going to be doing to ensure that you personally get involved in the political project of changing some of the things you do not like that you are seeing presently? Are you thinking of running again in 2023?
So 2023 is still at least how many years away? This is about maybe 3.5 years away. But Shehu, before 2023, there's a lot that citizens like myself can do. And that's exactly part of what I'm doing. I'm in Berlin because I am in a reflection mode, looking at the issues of politics and its nexus with economic performance of countries on our continent. The initial thesis is that the poor quality of politics is responsible for the poor quality of development outcomes on our continent, and especially our country, Nigeria. The basis of this study is to enable us be very analytically grounded and be practically driven in the way that citizens are in the center of the political process and can determine its outcome in a way that ensures better governance so that we can have societies that are prosperous and that are inclusive.
Let's now get government's reaction to all of these. I have Malam Garba Shehu, who joins us from our Abuja studio. We'll also discuss with him the fallout of President Buhari's South Africa trip. The president returned to the nation's capital, Abuja, after a 3-day visit to South Africa, where he met with President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa over the recent attacks on Nigerians and Nigerian businesses in that country. Thank you so much, Malam Garba Shehu, for your time. Foster, how would you react to the criticisms coming from the BBOG? You've heard from Dr. Ezekwesili tonight on reasons why the girls are yet to be rescued or released or returned to their parents. What is the government doing for the return of some of these girls? And how would you react to Dr. Ezekwesili tonight?
Well, Shehu, I would say, first of all, if you would excuse me without meaning to be rude to you or to Madam Ezekwesili, that this is a perfect ambush because if I had been invited to present myself against Madam Ezekwesili, I would have politely declined to be on the show. Not because one is afraid to confront her on her views, but because I speak for the president of Nigeria, who went into an election with this lady. He got nearly 50 million votes to win. She got about 36 or so thousand votes, which in my local government council, you cannot even be a councillor with this number of votes. More than any other thing, I would think that if I should present views against her own, I would only succeed in fetching more insults on the president of Nigeria, who does not deserve to be so disrespected. So this is my position. However, having been forced to now present my views on this matter, I would say that she has spoken a lot about all of these things that had happened in the past, and it is very clear that she doesn't look at the past. Although the fact that she did say that it's a problem that President Buhari inherited. You presented David Cameron, for instance, and the clear intention by her is as if that did not matter at all. But this is the very foundation of the problem. That is how it got started. And if this matter had been handled with the resolution that it called for from the very beginning, we would not have been where we are today. So the question you asked, go directly to it, what is the government doing presently to rescue the remaining girls, Chibok girls, and all the other persons that are being held captive against their wish? I will tell you this, that the government of Nigeria has involved many who matter on this matter, particularly stakeholders at the grassroots level. Instead of everyone looking to say President Buhari solved this problem, Buhari is talking to the governments of Yobe, Borno in particular, and all of their traditional rulers who are now, one way or the other, directly or indirectly, reaching out to terrorists of the Boko Haram. And the idea is to get to the root of the problem and to see how we can secure the kind of peace that would endure, that will yield the release of all hostages, that will end all of the fighting. Progress is being made gradually. You know that you're aware that the government has set up a de-radicalization center in Gombe, for instance. And we are having Boko Haram terrorists giving up their arms from many directions, surrendering them and submitting themselves for de-radicalization. So the idea is get to the root of the problem, see how the problem, there can be a permanent solution that will endure, that will end the insurgency, that will bring back all those who are held against their will. As for those who hold the girls in question, yes, Madam Ezekwesili did mention that the government got back some, and I appreciate the concession she gave to President Buhari for having got back some of them. For all we can see from what we hear from the interlocutors who are interfacing between the Nigerian government and the terrorists, we have not lost hope. There is a window of negotiation kept open all the time, at the same time when the military activity is still ongoing. So we are talking. There are several others who are talking, including some in the NGO community, who are confronted sometimes with the situations they cannot handle, and they come back to the government. You must be mindful of the government's responsibility to the military forces who are there fighting for the country, making sacrifices, and the safety of the larger Nigerian population. Yeah, terrorists make demands, or hostage takers make demands all over the world, and our own are also making demands. The government, a responsible government as we have, would make sure that you don't empower them by giving them the kind of money that will make them buy maybe anti-aircraft gun and shoot down civilian aircraft, for instance. Or they don't call, if they don't offer you maybe 10 hostages and say, release one person. That one person, when you look at the role in the insurgency of that one person, would be such that he probably be the most skillful bomb maker they have. And then, so you give him back, you give that person back, to the terrorists. You are compounding, you are complicating all of the problems. In essence, negotiation is going on. It is tedious, it takes time, as it does all over the world, and we're not giving up.
So, Madam Garba, Shehu, just to clear this, at Channels Television and on this program, we do not ambush our guests. It's just only fair that you are able to reply as a citizen of Nigeria who has a right and freedom of speech and association, that you have Dr. Ezekwesili on the program. She expressed her views, and as it touches the government, you are able, as a representative of government, to speak in that light. That's why I'm asking, throwing some of the issues you raised at you. We have the reasons why we have invited you on the program, and we'll stay on that. But let me get you clear, Madam Garba Shehu. You are saying, in essence, that for those who may have lost hope on the other girls that are yet to return, including also, we should not forget Leah Sharibu, you are telling Nigerians that they should not lose hope. There is actually hope that those girls will return. Perhaps, how soon do you think this may happen?
We haven't lost hope for a single day on the return of Leah Sharibu and all of the hostages that are held against their wish by the Boko Haram. Look, these terrorists have people they listen to, people with a measure of influence on them, organizations and groups that this administration has itself used in the past to secure freedom for some of those hostages. So when they give us hope, when they keep saying that there is light at the end of the tunnel, we believe them because they have proven to us what they can do. And I will tell you this. I know that there are times when we had deadlines given, but deadlines have come and passed without the results that we had expected. For instance, the government was informed that this government was going to get a big gift. That's what they used at the inauguration of the president for second term. May 29 came and passed. We didn't see that. We are promised freedom for many of them by October 1. This October 1st has come and gone. We are not giving up because in the past, it had happened before. There was hesitancy on their part. There has been a split, major split on their own part. There had been killings in their ranks because they don't speak with unanimity. So we are hoping that those who wish to have those girls back to their own parents and to our society will prevail over those who do not wish to have those girls back.
Malam Garba Shehu, let's leave that for a moment and talk about what the president brought back from South Africa. Initially, when the envoy of South African government came to Nigeria after the xenophobic attacks there on some of the foreign nationals, including Nigerians, some of the demands on the table is that there should be compensation. What can you tell us about that? Is compensation to Nigerians who have lost their means of livelihood in South Africa, or who have been injured or hurt in South Africa, is compensation still on the table for them? Is that part of what the president brought back from South Africa?
Full in answering this question because I don't want to appear as being insensitive to our fellow countrymen who have lost life, who have lost property, and all of that. The issue of compensation is a window that is still open. But how is it going to be beneficial to Nigerians? Don't forget that losses were suffered not only by Nigerians, but other black Africans residing in South Africa. And in fact, South African citizens themselves had suffered this. the window I'm looking at is one that probably would be beneficial, and I'm being very careful in this, beneficial to people who had presented themselves with requests to the police. And don't forget that we have over 800,000 of our citizens in South Africa. And as I speak to you now, less than 100,000 had formally registered in spite of repeated calls to the Nigerian mission, by the Nigerian mission, to do so online. I think about 60,000 or so that they are talking about. So you are dealing with a situation in which victims of violence are themselves hesitant to come forward because of possibly the fear of repercussions on their own presence in that country, legitimacy of it, and the fact of perhaps running businesses, some of it registered, some of it may not. But the ones that will have the greatest, certainty of being so compensated are those with insurance cover for their businesses and can come forward and stake out a claim. Will there be compensation for all the others? Will there be money that will just be shared out on the basis of anyone raising their hands to make a claim? Nigerians, South Africans, and the rest of Africans, I have not been briefed about that. And I hope if that chance presents itself, Nigerians will themselves gain benefit from that.
From this very trip, Madam Shehu, what would you say is the biggest news coming from that trip, the biggest takeaway for Nigeria as a benefit to Nigerians from that trip?
Well, the fact that I consider Nigeria like the older brother of our own South African brothers. We've been out there in the field of diplomacy and independence well ahead of them. So there is perhaps a lot more international experience on our part than they do. What this administration has done is to show leadership on the continent, to show that maturity, that instead of reacting angrily to spank South Africans and cut ties and all throw away the baby with the bathwater, what President Muhammadu Buhari did was to engage with them. I think the biggest gain is in the fact that hold the hands of our brothers in South Africa. Let us agree and share experience with them so that together we can find a solution to their own problem, which is now our own problem and a problem to everyone in the world. And the South Africans are quick to appreciate this, and they have come along with President Muhammadu Buhari, which is good. In addition to this, I will say that Nigerians have bitterly complained about South African attitude towards perceived sacrifices that have been made to even get them to be free. And that even at the level of rhetoric, there is a sense that the South Africans themselves are not even saying as much as, listen to what President Ramaphosa said in those speeches. Without Nigeria, it will have taken us far more cost, a longer time to achieve. So we are Africans, we owe it to you. This is significant. They have decided, they have agreed. All of the complaints, look at what the banks are saying in Nigeria. They don't have an operating space in South Africa. Our airlines that have been denied air, all of these things are being accommodated now. And we are operating from April. That will be in position a high-level interministerial committee that will bring all of our people in trade, industry, and investment so that the big businesses in South Africa that have come to Nigeria, they are doing so well. No, Nigeria will go beyond small and medium enterprises that are operating there. Our big organizations will also be free. They will get the operating space and make the most of it. I think that the fact that we're able to operate the two leading economies on the continent coming together to operate as one and lead the way for the rest of the continent it's significant indeed.
Let me get the closing remarks from Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. In a few seconds, Dr. Ezekwesili, your closing thoughts and perhaps some of the thoughts on your mind when Malam Shehu was talking. Quickly, please.
Well, I think that the number one thing to say is, as a citizen of Nigeria, I speak on behalf of all other citizens that want good governance for the country. And to say that the spokesperson of the president should take a message back to the president that irredeemable incompetency does not work for the Nigerian people. The economy is in dire straits. The security condition of the country is terrible. It's tragic. The state of human development is struggling. We are the world capital of poverty. The
Dr. Ezekwesili, I mean, that's perhaps just about how much we can take because of our time. Let me get Malam Garba Shehu's quick reaction and final thought on the program, just in a few seconds, please.
We have one consolation from here. When Madam Ezekwesili speaks, nobody believes her. When she says President Buhari has abandoned Chibok girls, no. Those who abandoned Chibok girls are those who thought they would use the plight of Chibok girls to win election in a presidential context. They lost the election and they are now back to the issue. Democracy, the claim that democracy is in decline in the country started when a certain government in the country tried to do third term, and some of the senior people in that government who are not speaking of decline in the country are present there. They are not on record as having said no to the crushing of our democracy.
Malam Garba Shehu, sincere thanks for coming. And Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, thank you also for your thought.